I'm not a woman's liver, but I'm a female in a man's transport world, and I respect that. But if a job can be done, why can't we females at least give it a go? Mind you, I'd much rather one of you blokes change my 132-kilo truck tyre any day. There have been many challenges for me in this industry. It hasn't been easy, being a female in this male industry. I've got many stories that could keep us here for hours, but I'll just stick to a few short ones. When I first came to Perth in 1999, I started driving my tippers on the wharf in Kwinana and Fremantle, picking up bulk fertiliser and grain. Now this is the blokey bloke place to be. Now here I met Lee. He was an older chap, nearing retirement age, who thought that no woman should ever drive a truck. And he made sure that he told me on numerous occasions that I shouldn't be taking men's jobs off them. Women should be home cooking. He also informed me that his wife didn't even have a driver's licence, so he could take her shopping. And on he went. Now, in these instances, I've always found the best way to deal with this sort of chauvinism is being so sweet and nice. Well, it took a few long weeks of his behaviour, but eventually I won him over with kindness. And this taught me a very, very good lesson. Because 8 years after meeting Lee on the wharf, he still sends me a Christmas SMS every year and phones me about twice a year, or if he ever sees me and my girls on TV, to see how we're going. I once had to go and buy truck parts in a major truck spare parts service area. I was after a jack shaft for a Volvo 6. I had the make, model, year, chassis number and all the information required. I proceeded to lean over the counter and order the part. Now, this lovely chap behind the counter, he was one of the younger boys, said to me, "Are you sure it's that little bubby one, not the big long one under the truck?" So I leant over and I said, "Yes, sweetie, it's the little bubby one." I got my part and took it back to my mechanic to fit. Back again, I had to go the next day to get a part for my cab. Now this time the part was quite large, so I took one of my drivers with me. Well, surprise, surprise, I got the same chap again. Whilst I ordered the part, he talked directly to my driver, who hadn't even opened his mouth. I asked a question to the chap at the counter. He answered my driver. At this stage, my driver said, "I'm just here to carry heavy things. Heather's my boss and she owns the truck. She's the one you should be talking to." He said, "Yep," and continued to speak to my driver. I've learnt along the years not to be particularly bothered by this, as the effect it had on my driver was just priceless. He went and saw the general manager, told everyone he knew and all of my crew how I was treated. Now this earned me greater respect from my guys as to what I had to go through in just buying a part for a heavy vehicle. I once had a salesman phone me and try to sell me some truck trailers. He asked 3 times to speak to the boss. I told him that was me. He laughed and said, no, the bloke. I want to speak to the bloke." After 3 more attempts, I told him that actually there was never a male boss. "My name's Heather. Can I help you? And this is my business." Now he regularly tries to sell me a trailer. I still haven't bought one from him, but he knows my name and company. Recently, I spent 6 days carting off the wharf in Kwinana, and I had a few of my drivers on this job. I had a driver getting his semi-licence, so I put one of my senior female drivers in with him to train him. He had L plates on the and off he started work. Senior driver. When she hopped out of the truck on the wharf, this sweetie came over to her and said, "Oh, isn't it so lovely your husband's teaching you to drive?" I guess it teaches us all not to jump to conclusions. But Sally wasn't even driving, she was in the passenger seat. When I started driving heavy vehicles, I was very fortunate to have my first 2 employers change the boundaries in this industry so that I could drive their trucks with my 2 girls in the cab. This actually alters insurance policies and the jobs that you can be rostered onto. For example, mine sites, wharfs, airport, all those areas are out of the question. So I truly appreciate what they did for me, and now I try to return the goodness to others in similar situations by employing females as well with children. Prior to starting my own business, I was a transport manager in a company where I had pretty much the freedom to run it as though it was my own. I mostly had all the financial and management control. That meant hiring, firing, buying, sourcing work, meetings with other major transport companies. And whilst I attended these meetings, I was always the only female there. When I first started working for this company, they had 3 trucks. When I left and under my management, the company had grown to 9 trucks and 16 full-time employees in just 3 years. However, there were many roadblocks that the male owner kept putting in my way, mainly due to his gruff attitude and the rude way that he treated people. I was eventually convinced by my sister Karina that I could run a better business, so she encouraged me to take transport. Well, the first of many challenges was to come. My first visit to the bank, one of the big 4, to purchase my first truck. Now I had secured a contract for 2 years. I'd secured drivers, fan trucks, I'd completed my business plan and all the other necessary paperwork. I was then asked by the bank manager to go back and, wait for it, list every other truck in Western Australia that would be my competitor in the market. Well, I think there's about 3,300 trucks registered as on the main roads website, but I guess they would probably be my immediate competitors. So needless to say, I didn't do the paperwork and I didn't get the money from that bank. But I can see realistically how they had trouble getting their heads around wanting to finance a single female mother with 2 daughters. A few days later, a wonderful finance broker opened up an equity line on my home, and that was how I purchased my first truck. So I established Success Transport in 2004. I won that large contract and was able to purchase additional trucks shortly thereafter.